Hey guys, it's Matt. There might be a problem today with the FreeVoice server, the server that Rob uses. I know many of you have gotten buffering and it'll pause a bit over the years. It even pauses sometimes on my laptop. On my Mac, it's a smooth video, but today is as bad as I've ever seen. It worked on Apple Safari. It didn't work on Chrome or anything else on either device. So I'm just going to have to wait for it to clear, but I will leave a link to the original video here. If you want to take a look at it, another remote viewer talking about this place as a prison planet. Of course, I had major issues with what they presented. If the FreeVoice video never loads, I'm waiting, maybe the server will clear or something will reconfigure. It might be available. Typically, I guess it's not a good idea to go to freevoice.io unless I load the YouTube video saying it's ready. I see that there's almost 100 people that have gone over there now, and it's not ready. I'm hoping it's still compiling, but it seems to be an absolute mess. So hopefully it'll clear by tonight or tomorrow, and there'll be a video at freevoice.io. But if not, let me just sum it up for you. Spend 8 to 10 minutes here. We learn together, and this is what I watched in terms of the remote viewer, and of course I had problems with what his presentation was. So I'll leave the link, but let me summarize it now in 10 minutes or less. The remote viewer. There was a channel I never heard of with almost 600,000 subscribers that played this video from the remote viewer that said it was so controversial that he had to take it down. Well, he remote viewed along with 2 or 3 or 4 other people, and basically they all saw the same thing, that this is a prison planet. I have issues with it, and it's some sort of a grid, an energy grid that's around the planet. I'm very skeptical when they start talking about planet and talking about space the way Carl Sagan and an astronomer would talk about space. I think if we truly could go up there far enough and look down, which will never happen, we wouldn't see any shape at all. That's my belief. So I believe these, basically, just to jump to the conclusion, if you don't want to hang out here, I believe these remote viewers are probably fooled. I don't think they're lying when they see, and they talk about energy harvesting and loosh, which of course we agree with, but talking about basically a very, very little chance of anybody ever escaping a technology, a mechanism, a grid. It's like some of the videos I watched 8 years ago from Wes Penray, was that his name? And, the body at death having to be at a certain angle to escape, and there's people that want to help us, but we have to be looking for the help, and I don't think the remote viewers are just making it up and they're scheming and lying. I believe this is what they probably truly remote viewed. But why does that make it the truth? Just because they remote viewed it, why does that make it the truth? It doesn't, of course. Our senses only take in 1% of the available information. If I say to you, which I said in the video, if it ever loads at freevoice.io, what color is a banana? Yellow? It's not yellow. It's every color but yellow. Yellow is the color it reflects back. It appears yellow to us. It's every color but yellow. So I don't think they're lying. I think they really remote viewed this. And in the beginning of the FreeVoice video, I showed you the Russell Targ book, Limitless Mind, which I read a few years ago. He's one of the more famous remote viewers. It didn't impress me in terms of how, what actually happened, how to do it. It was all very vague in the book, very sketchy. I believe remote viewing in terms of certain psychic abilities to determine if something's like lost or buried, that's possible. I believe a lot of people have psychic abilities. But in terms of viewing our situation here, that has to do with what happens to us at death, or a grid that recycles souls back, whatever. They had just, also the remote viewer had too much information, had every little bit about the who, what, when, where, why, and how. These are the type of interdimensional demons or aliens that had a negotiation with this group that wanted to save Earth. Well, how would they know that? Just by remote viewing. It just doesn't pan out to me. So talked about a lot of physical things which I don't buy. The one thing that I did pay attention to in his presentation, again I'll leave a link to the video, is talked about overcoming the mindset of fear, and that I absolutely believe in that. I'm not coming out here, saying there are no possibility of tricks or traps at death. Of course, I'm not just going to put my head in the sand and go into denial. I'm saying even if there are, it's like I've said many times in the last few weeks, it's up to us. The mindset we have going into the moment of death is up to us. And he talked about fear being some sort of frequency that assists them in some way for the recycling. I do believe that. But it's still, that means it's up to us. If we don't go in with any fear, the attitude of I've done enough, I don't carry any karma, I don't want to fix one thing or change one thing I did in life. That small part of his presentation I did agree with, but mostly was about like a physical mechanism in another planetary body, like the moon or something. That he actually puts a little sign up. It could be the moon. If you go up, to me, if you go up there high enough, there is no moon, there is no rock. So they're not lying. Do they really remote view it? Sure, but who's giving them the information that they're seeing? Where's the information coming from that they're seeing? If this, on the other side, you could flip it. If there is a interdimensional group or aliens that has the planet locked down in terms of some sort of prison. In this presentation, guys, again, I'll leave a link. There's nothing about the NDE or the ADE or the archonic beings talked about some alien race or something like that. That's what they remote viewed. If they're trying to make themselves immortal and gods, and if they were so powerful, they would have the ability to shut off the remote viewing, right? How does these little people on Earth remote view? So I look like I've been sweating. I've been outside stacking bricks, just hoping every time I come back in, the thing's loaded properly or the server's fixed itself and it's buffering, and the video's there, but I'm going to let it sit out there. It worked for me on Apple Safari, but it didn't work on anything else. Sorry. So why would they if they're so powerful, why would they let a remote viewer just view everything and see exactly what's going on? And the few ways to get out is now exposed to the remote viewer. I don't buy what the remote viewer is putting forth. I believe they saw it, but what does that mean? What did they see? They saw what the archonic being wanted them to see, or who knows? But I don't care. Basically, I'm saying I don't care what they saw. The story with their presentation isn't consistent. It doesn't hold up to me. And it's not just me wanting to put my head in the sand and not believe it. You just don't want to believe it, Matt. You just keep saying, "Let's be positive. Let's go in with no fear." It's not that. It's not. I could face it if I really believed it was there. Once again, it's not all or none. There could be something to overcome. We'll talk again about go into the light or not go into the light or archonic. But we are in control. That's the greatest news of all time. It's up to us. Mindset, worry, fear, anxiety. I've done enough. Karma. Karma isn't a thing out there we've talked about. You decide to carry it yourself or you decide not to. It's not up to anything out there. I don't care what they remote viewed, but here, Winston sent this to me, and it's just one more Prison Planet video that I have major issues with. If one is truly convincing, and I say, wow, this is well put together, and there's no real problems in the presentation in terms of inconsistencies, I'll tell you. Maybe I'll change my viewpoint, but for now, I don't care what grid or prison thing they saw around the planet. There's no planet. That doesn't make it what either. It just if you go up high enough, there's nothing. It's an illusory environment. There's no giant rock. It's a moon or anything like that. Anyway, I guess I'm being a little repetitive, guys. In terms of the free voice server, who knows? I don't think it's worth like taking it down and reloading it. I'm just going to go back at 5 or 6 o'clock and see if it's reconfigured itself. And again, even on my laptop, I've had little buffering issues over the years, and I know many of you have. But I go to a different device, or my Mac never had an issue, never had a hiccup for years on my iMac, even in Chrome or Safari. On my laptop, I do. I know some of you have those issues, but I've never seen it like this. So you work all morning and you put a video and nobody can see it. But anyway, I've had some people tell me in Europe that they have some issues on Sunday, but then they just come back and watch Monday and there's no issue. So I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I just wanted to communicate this information, and I'll leave the link to the original video. Oh, the other issue I have is this person that's hosting saying this guy took it down. So he's like, I'm going to show it to you on my channel. He has almost 600,000 subscribers, but he's just like, hey, look at this. We live in a prison planet, and then doesn't come back and challenge anything. Doesn't come back and say, well, maybe we shouldn't take this too, I'll say it seriously. 600,000 subscribers. He's being irresponsible. Just saying, hey, check it out. We live in a prison planet. Hey, check us out. That's from a Weird Science. That's when they dumped the slushy on Gary and Wyatt. Hey, check us out. Or no, that's when they pulled the pants. Sorry, that's when they pulled their pants down. I think in the gym class. Yeah, sorry, Michael. No, it was Anthony Michael Hall and Robert Downey Jr. Sorry, guys. Sorry about the free voice server. I hope it fixes itself. I'm going to talk to Rob. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, it's Matt. Just a minute or two before we get into the video. I used to watch a lot of that new Thinking Aloud with Jeffrey Mishlove. One of his guests was this Russell Targ, who is a remote viewer. And he wrote this book. I mean, this is one of the original or more famous people in the remote viewing industry. I don't know what you call it. He worked for the CIA. And, I didn't really know anything about remote viewing until I investigated a little bit when I saw this interview. I still know very little about it compared to, say, what some of you might know. But I did decide a few years ago to get this book that was recommended during the Jeffrey Mishlove interview. I read the whole thing. And the point is, guys, I was not that impressed. We are going to get into another prison planet. We're trapped. The video comes forth. We're all screwed. There's a giant grid around the planet and all this stuff, and the remote viewers show you how we're trapped. And I'm not terribly impressed with remote viewing. I don't think it's fake. I think these people really believe what they're seeing in terms of what's going on out in space. Or, I believe some of the experiments here where a remote viewer can locate an object hidden away somewhere to test their remote viewing abilities. I think we do have psychic abilities. I think all people can be trained to, I guess you would rather see Zara, all people can be trained to hone these psychic abilities. But, in terms of being trapped on a prison planet, what are they actually seeing? How would, are they lying? No, but where is the information coming from? That's what we have to consider. The remote viewers are really seeing it, in my opinion, or they believe they're really seeing it. But what are they really seeing? And what evidence is there that what they're seeing is the actual truth? So anyway, I certainly, when I read this, I had a whole new respect for remote viewing? No, absolutely not. This was not impressive at all to me. And I thought there'd be some tips on how to go about doing it yourself. There is almost there's vague notions as to how they go about it, but at this point, I just don't care about doing it at all. If I could remote view, to me, my half-page reality is set. I'm here to work on myself. I don't care about remote viewing anything. And if I could remote view, there's a grid around the earth that harvests souls. Don't you want to remote? No, I don't want to remote view that, even if I could, because who know what the information I'm getting? What guarantee is it that it's accurate? Well, if you're viewing it, it's accurate. No, if I'm viewing it, there's no guarantee it's accurate. The whole world is an illusion of sorts. The sense is taking 1% of the information. So sorry, a little bit more long-winded. I wasn't that impressed. Remote viewers, I believe you see what you see. What you say, you see. You say. Is that even a word? What you say, you see. You say, you see. But I don't. So what? What do you think?